Not the harsh white of my bathroom bulb, but a soft, breathing glow, pulsing faintly from my own skin. I stood frozen in front of the mirror, fingers trembling, mouth dry, heart pounding so loud it felt like it might crack my ribs open. The reflection staring back at me was me. And also not me. My shoulders were slimmer, my jaw softer, my eyes larger, luminous, almost iridescent, like they were catching starlight from some distant galaxy. I leaned closer to the mirror, breath fogging the glass. No, 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 I whispered, even as my eyes refused to look away. Just 12 hours ago, I'd been a normal guy with a normal life, overworked, underpaid, invisible. And now? Now my skin shimmered like moonlit silk, my hair had grown longer overnight, cascading down in dark waves, and there was a faint pattern along my collarbone, like delicate moth wings etched beneath my skin. That was when I remembered the cocoon. The strange, organic pod I'd found during the salvage job. The way it had split open like a living thing. The way it had wrapped around me in warm, humming darkness before everything went black. I pressed my palm against my chest, feeling a steady, unfamiliar rhythm beneath my fingers. Fear twisted in my stomach, but beneath it, something else stirred. Curiosity. Awe. And maybe, excitement. Because as terrifying as this was, a quiet voice inside me whispered a truth I wasn't ready to admit yet. I didn't hate what I saw. Getting dressed that morning felt like trying to act normal in a body that clearly wasn't. My old clothes hung wrong, too loose in some places, too tight in others. My work shirt slid off one shoulder no matter how many times I adjusted it, exposing that faint, glowing pattern beneath my skin. I avoided eye contact with my reflection as I grabbed my bag and stepped outside. The world hadn't changed, but the way it looked at me had. On the subway, conversations dipped into whispers as I passed. I caught fragments. Is that a costume? No, look at their eyes. Are they filming something? I kept my head down, heart racing, every step feeling like I was walking on a stage I hadn't agreed to stand on. At work, my manager frowned at me like I'd broken an unspoken rule. Everything okay with you? She asked, eyes lingering too long on my face. Yeah, I lied. Just, didn't sleep much. She nodded slowly, unconvinced. My co-workers stared when they thought I wasn't looking. Some with confusion. Some with fascination. One with a softness that made my chest ache in a way I didn't understand yet. By lunchtime, I locked myself in a bathroom stall, hands shaking, trying to breathe. Who am I supposed to be now? The fear was overwhelming, but so was the strange pull inside me, urging me not to run. That night, I finally gave in to it. I closed my apartment door, locked it, and stood alone in the quiet. Slowly, deliberately, I undressed, not out of necessity, but curiosity. My body caught the low light of the room, glowing faintly like bioluminescent dust. The moth-like patterns were clearer now, elegant and symmetrical, wrapping around my shoulders and down my back. I traced them with my fingertips, gasping softly at the warmth that bloomed wherever I touched. In my closet, buried behind old jackets, was a box I hadn't opened in years. Clothes I'd once bought and never had the courage to wear. I pulled out a soft, flowing top, the fabric cool and light against my fingers. Just trying, I told myself. That's all. But when I slipped it on, something clicked. The way it hugged my new shape, the way it moved when I turned, it felt right in a way I'd never experienced before. I found myself smiling. Then laughing. Then standing taller, shoulders back, chin lifted. I experimented, makeup borrowed from a friend long ago, a hesitant swipe of color across my lips, a gentle dusting around my eyes. My reflection stared back at me, eyes glowing softly, expression unsure but alive. Hi, I whispered to her. For the first time since the cocoon, the fear loosened its grip. The next few days became a secret ritual. After work, I'd come home and explore, different clothes, different looks, practicing my voice, my walk, my presence. Each small discovery felt like unfolding another layer of myself, like shedding an old skin. By the weekend, the walls of my apartment felt too small. I chose a quiet cafe across town, neutral clothes that still let a hint of my glow show through. My hands shook as I stepped inside, but no one screamed. No one pointed. A barista smiled and asked for my order like it was the most normal thing in the world. I nearly cried right there. Outside, a stranger complimented my hair. Another asked where I'd gotten my jacket. Each interaction was a tiny spark, lighting something warm and powerful inside my chest. Confidence didn't arrive all at once. It grew slowly, like wings forming beneath the skin. The confrontation came when I least expected it. At work, during a team meeting, my manager stopped mid-sentence and looked directly at me. "You've changed," she said carefully. "And people are talking." The room felt too bright. Too quiet. I swallowed. This was the moment. Hide, or be honest. "I know," I said, voice steady despite the storm inside me. "And I'm not done changing." Silence stretched. Then, "Okay," she said. "As long as you're still you." I realized then that I was. Not the version I'd been pretending to be, but the one I was becoming. In the weeks that followed, I stopped dimming my glow. I embraced it. The alien cocoon hadn't taken something from me, it had given me permission. To transform. To choose myself. Now, when I look in the mirror, I don't see a mistake or a monster. I see a moth that survived the dark, emerged radiant, and learned how to fly. And if you're listening to this, feeling trapped in your own cocoon, know this. Transformation is terrifying. I thought surviving the cocoon was the hard part. I was wrong. The real challenge began the moment I stepped back into the world pretending nothing had changed, while everything inside me had. The glow didn't go away. No matter how many layers I wore, no matter how much I tried to hide, there was always something off. A shimmer at my wrists when I reached for my phone. A soft halo around my face under fluorescent lights. People didn't just see me anymore. They noticed me. And for someone who'd spent most of his life blending into the background, that alone was terrifying. At the grocery store, an older woman paused mid-aisle, staring at me with wide eyes. "You look beautiful," she said, confused, like the word had slipped out without permission. My mouth opened. Closed. "Thank you," I whispered, cheeks burning. Beautiful. The word followed me all the way home, echoing in my head like a secret I wasn't supposed to hear yet. At work, things grew stranger by the day. My co-workers stopped using my name altogether, replacing it with awkward pauses or overly polite smiles. One afternoon, as I passed the break room, I overheard someone whisper, "Is it a guy or a girl?" I pressed my back against the wall, heart pounding. I didn't know how to answer that myself. That night, alone in my apartment, I stood barefoot on the cool floor and stared at the cocoon, or what remained of it. The thing had collapsed into a brittle shell, dull and lifeless now, like it had already given me everything it could. "Why me?" I asked it softly. Of course, it didn't answer. But my body did. A warmth spread through me, gentle but insistent, like my skin remembered something my mind didn't. I closed my eyes, and for a moment, I swore I could feel wings stretching inside my back, phantom sensations of something waiting to unfold. I exhaled slowly. Maybe fighting this was pointless. So instead, I leaned into it. I started small. Letting my hair fall freely instead of tying it back. Choosing softer fabrics, looser silhouettes that moved when I walked. The first time I wore a long cardigan that brushed against my thighs, I nearly turned back at the door, but once I was outside, the fear slowly melted into something else. Power. People reacted differently now. Some stayed. Some smiled. Some looked away too quickly, like they'd glimpsed something too intimate. A group of teenagers giggled as I passed, but one of them whispered, "They're kind of glowing," like it was the coolest thing she'd ever seen. At home, the exploration deepened. I practiced in front of the mirror, how I stood, how I tilted my head when I listened, how my voice softened when I wasn't forcing it lower. I played music and let myself move, feeling the rhythm ripple through my body in ways it never had before. Every night felt like a private evolution. One evening, after hours of experimenting with makeup, I finally stepped back and really looked at myself. My eyes shone like nebulae, lashes casting delicate shadows. My lips curved naturally now, fuller, expressive. The moth patterns along my shoulders pulsed faintly, responding to my breath. "I look like someone," I murmured. "Not a disguise. Not a costume. Someone real." The weekend came, and with it, a decision that made my hands shake just thinking about it. I was going out. Fully. I chose an outfit that felt like a promise to myself. Soft boots, fitted pants, a flowing top that shimmered subtly in the light. When I stepped outside, the city felt different. Sharper. Louder. Alive. At a small art gallery opening, a woman approached me with a warm smile. "Your look is incredible," she said. "Are you an artist?" I laughed softly. "I'm becoming one." She nodded like she understood exactly what I meant. We talked for hours. No questions about what I was. Just who I was. When I left, my heart felt lighter than it had in years. But not everyone was kind. On my way home, a man scoffed loudly as I passed. "Make up your mind," he muttered. I froze. For a second, the old fear clawed back up my spine. The urge to shrink, to disappear, to apologize for existing. Instead, I lifted my chin. "I have," I said calmly. His confusion was almost satisfying. The glow brightened that night, as if my body approved. Still, the tension built. At work, HR called me in. They spoke carefully, choosing every word like it might explode. "We just want to make sure you're comfortable," they said. "And that this doesn't affect your performance." I smiled. "It's affecting my life," I said. "In the best way." Walking out of that office, I knew a reckoning was coming. I couldn't exist halfway anymore. The cocoon hadn't transformed me so I could hide in another one. Standing at my apartment window, watching the city lights flicker like stars, I placed my hand over my chest. "I'm ready," I whispered, to whatever came next. Because deep down, I could feel it.